occurs at least expected or in the least expected times. An earthquake is a violent shaking of the ground due to the motion or movement of the Earth's outermost layer. So due to these movements of the tectonic plates, okay, it can cause stress on the crust of the Earth, okay, so which leads to cracks on the surface that we call as faults. So meron tayong iba't ibang klase ng faults, okay, so this picture is an example of a fault. I have here a video, okay, describing, okay, what is actually the three types of faults, okay. So with that, these are the cracks that is actually created by two rocks, right? Wall moves up and over the foot wall. This occurs when there are compressional push to each other forces on rocks. So that is actually the move. The hanging wall slides down relative to the foot wall. This occurs when there are tensional or pulled apart forces on rocks. Blocks of rock slide past one another parallel to the strike. This occurs due to the shearing forces on rocks. Pala natin sa focus is hypocenter. Okay? So, yan po yung tawag or another called sa focus. Next, ang epicenter naman, siya naman yung nasa taas ni focus. Alright?
Oy, musta? Pinapanood ko yung last part or last lesson natin about earthquakes. Hello, okay, I am your teacher host, Marlon Garcia. Okay, there is a major question to with regards to earthquakes. Pero syempre, ang pinaka number one natin na question is, kumusta kaya yung mga tao nandun? Okay, gaano ba kalakas, okay, ang lindol, at pangatlo, gaano kapinsala yung lindol. Okay? So, without kidding aside po, okay, I am just actually asking, okay, each and every one of you naman, okay, that if you actually witness or experience an earthquake, okay, ano kayang ginagawa natin? No? Ano kayang nangyayari sa paligid natin? Okay? So, yan po yun. Okay? In this lesson actually, you will understand po yung sinasabi sa balita na intensity and magnitude. Gaano ba kalakas, okay, ang earthquake na binigay, okay, on the last 2 years ago, okay, 2019. Okay? Gaano ba siya ka-destructive para sa atin? And how many lives ang nawawala? Okay? So, dito po malalaman ninyo kung anong pagkakaiba ni intensity at ni magnitude. With this lesson for today is Earthquake Part 2. So, please, take note and please watch this.
1, 2, 3, go!
Hello everyone and welcome to another edition of our science class. I am teacher host Marlon Garcia, giving you some insights of everything and anything under the sun, basta't lang science. And we are now on the second part of our discussion, and that is earthquake. Hindi ako makaan. Okay, nakaharang kasi ako dun sa part 2. So we are on the second part now of our discussion, which is we called it as earthquakes. No? So we discussed about faults, no? What are the different kinds of faults, and the definition of earthquakes. So before we end our discussion last time, okay, we defined actually the use of the seismogram. Okay, yun yung tinatawag natin na measurement. Pero there is a question here na sinasabi na gaano ba kalakas si earthquake? Alright? So, dito malalaman natin kung ano ba ang pagkakaiba ng dalawang measurements ni earthquake. And we called it as the magnitude, and the intensity. So, without any further ado, okay, so simulan na natin ang ating makabuluhang discussion. Alright, when an earthquake happens, the main quantity of interest is its magnitude. So the question here is, how big was the earthquake? So gaano kalaki si earthquake? Yan ang tanong doon, right? So scientists find ways to describe how big or strong the earthquake is. And we have two types on how to describe the strength of an earthquake. So meron tayong tinatawag natin na intensity and magnitude. So we describe magnitude as the energy released by the rocks bend and suddenly snap along the faults. Saan matatagpuan ulit kasi kung nasaan banda yung nangyayari yung bending of energy and the bending of rocks and the releasing of energy. Kung ang answer ninyo ay nasa focus, okay? So tama tayo. So yan po ang diyan po matatagpuan din ang magnitude. Gaano ba kalakas ang energy na naiproproduce, okay? Pag nag-snap, okay, doon sa doon sa bend of rocks, 'di ba? Kasi rocks do bend, okay? Pero when the bending is too much, okay, it releases energy. So the released energy is recorded by an instrument called as the seismograph. And kung gaano kalakas yung seismograph, okay, ganun din kalakas yung magnitude o yung lakas ng lindol. Alright? So, the magnitude is proportional to the energy released by an earthquake at the focus. Proportional. So, ibig sabihin, magkaparehas lang. Okay? Hindi the number, but of course, the strength na tinatawag natin. Okay? So, let's talk more about magnitude. So, the greater the magnitude, the stronger the earthquake is. So, we have the Richter scale, magnitude scale, which is expressed in Hindu-Arabic numerals. Right? So, kapag sinabi nating magnitude number 7, yan po yung gaano kalakas yung lindol o yung shaking ngayon. Okay? Now, we have here, of course, the following scale po ranges from 0 to 9. Tignan natin, okay? Suotin natin ang ating salamin. And of course, so we have here yung 2.5 or less. So we have minor, usually not felt, but but can be recorded by seismograph. So kaya yan. So from 2.5 or less magnitude. So from 1 magnitude to 2.5. Alright? So pag umabot siya ng 2.5 to 5.4 here, light. So often felt by only caused by minor damage. Minor. So dito pa lang, okay, hindi na yun gaano ka-destructive. Alright? So pero dito, slight lang naman ang damage pagdating na dito. Pag nag-increase na tayo with 5.5, to 6.0, meron tayong tinatawag na moderate magnitude. Alright? Ito yung slight damage to buildings and other structures. So, meron dito here na slight damage po sa mga buildings. Yung mga yung mga sabihin na natin na mas lighter yung mga ginagamit na materials, okay? Hindi kagaya ng mga nasa SM o kaya yung mga na 5-star hotels or yung mga hotels na lang na sumusunod sa protocols. Next, yung protocols pagdating sa pag-building ng building, of course. Next, so, kung pumunta na tayo sa 6.1 to 6.9, ito na yung tinatawag natin na strong. Okay? So, it may cause a lot of damage in very populated areas. Ayan. So, meron tayong strong and ito actually, it can cause a lot of damage. Alright? No? Lalo na sa mga populated areas like sa malls, sa supermarkets, sa mga parks. Okay? So dahil sa ano nga 'di ba sa sobrang lakas niya, okay? So yan po ang strong. Pag naman tinatawag natin na major, okay, that is actually 7.0 to 7.9. 7.0 to 7.9. Anong ibig sabihin nito? Major earthquake will happen. Okay? So malakas na yung earthquake. Malakas na yung earthquake. Alright? So dito, okay, mararamdaman mo, okay, at damang-dama mo kung gaano kalakas si earthquake. Okay, wala pa tayo dyan sa malakas na yan. Major earthquake lang yan, okay? No? Pagdating naman po kay 8.0 to up, pataas, yan ang tinatawag natin na great or national level. Okay? Gaano kalakas to? Okay? Yung last discussion natin, nasa 9.1 Richter scale ang ano doon, okay? So ano ba yung ibig sabihin nun, okay? Dito, okay, malakas yung earthquake na yon. Alright? So, doon sa last topic natin, which is nasa first part ng ating discussion, no? So, ito yung sabihin na natin, hindi nararamdaman mo na damang mo na yung earthquake, hindi ka na makalakad. Okay? Ganon siya katindi. So, yan po yung scale natin. So, from 1 to above. Okay? So, from 1 or so, we have 2.5 or less. Ito yung minor earthquake. We have 2.5 to 5.4, that is light earthquake. 5.5 to 6.0, that is moderate earthquake. Ay, sorry. Tama ni Mike. And of course, we have 6.1 to 6.9, which is the strong earthquake. And of course, we have 7.0 to 7.9, that is a major earthquake. And of course, the great earthquake, which is nasa 8.0 above. Okay? The great earthquake or the great or national earthquake. So, doon pa lang, okay, alam mo na gaano kalakas ba. So, mas malakas yung scale, mas matindi yung earthquake na nararamdaman. Okay? So, ganun po ang Richter scale. Okay? So, let's talk, okay, so another way to describe naman an earthquake is, of course, the intensity. So, here naman, the intensity described as observing effects of an earthquake to people, objects, environment, and structures in a certain locality. So, dito tinatanong kung gaano kalakas ang tinatawag natin na intensity o yung gaano ba katindi yung damage dealt, okay, or felt doon sa or doon habang may earthquake doon sa lugar. Okay? So, yun po ang tinatawag natin na intensity. Alright? So, the modified Mercalli or Mercalli scale is used to determine the intensity scale of an earthquake. Tanggalin ko lang salamin ko. But in the Philippines, the intensity of an earthquake is determined using the PVOX Earthquake Intensity Scale or the PEIS. Okay? So, doon sa kanina magnitude, we actually talk about the Richter scale. Okay, the Richter magnitude scale, yun ang ginagamit ng mga scientists, okay, in observing the earthquake. Okay, pagdating sa magnitude. Pero kapag naman doon sa intensity, we called it as the PEIS or the PVOX. Okay, Earthquake Intensity Scale. Okay? Sa mga sa mga hindi pa po nakakaalam kung ano po ang PVOX, Philippine Institute of Volcanology and Seismology. Yan po yung ibig sabihin ng PVOX. Alright? Philippine Institute of Volcanology and Seismology. Alright? Kaya po yan. It presented by Roman numerals like, yes, the letter I as number 1, double I is 2. Yun yun. Okay? These are used to express the intensity scale. So, let's talk about this, no? Yung tinatawag natin na PVOX Earthquake Intensity Scale. So, meron tayo from ranges number 1 to 10. And, pag-uusapan natin yan isa-isa. So, here po, okay. So, from 1 to 4. So, dito, okay, pag-uusapan natin yung tinatawag natin na from 1, which is scarcely perceptible. Okay, 2 is slightly felt. 3 is weak, and 4 is moderately strong. So dito pala makikita mo papalakas na siya, no? Alright, so let us read nga isa. So number 1, it is actually the scarcely perceptible. That is, sabi daw niya, what people may experience is noticeable to some people. Napapansin lang ng ibang tao. Okay, and of course, parang dumaan lang yung dinosaur, or parang gumalaw lang ng slight yung tubig. Okay? Hindi mo mapapansin. Hindi mo siya mapapansin. Lindol na pala yun. Okay? So that is number 1. So wala pa lang. Parang, okay. Parang ganun eh. Diba? Number 2. Palakasin natin ng konti. Now, okay, we have slightly felt. Slightly felt, okay, by few people indoors. Hanging objects swing lightly and the water moves noticeably. Okay? So, kung sa water, nagbo-move lang siya very slowly, eto, napapansin mo na. May gumagalaw doon sa tubig. Pero syempre, okay lang din naman gumagalaw. Gumalaw naman yung tubig, di ba? Baka nahanginan, ganun eh. Okay? Pero yung hanging objects, okay, baka may gumalaw, may naggalaw doon sa, poste, parang ganun eh. Yung, parang, lang, konti lang na move. Right? So, yan po yun. Parang nilipad lang siya ng hangin. Okay? So, number 3, okay, is weak. So, felt by people indoors. Okay? Especially in upper floors. Okay? So, yan po yun. Sa mga second floor, nararamdaman niya. Sa third floor, ganun din. Okay, nararamdaman niya. Okay, pero slight. Slight lang. Some experience dizziness. Okay, parang yung iba, parang sabi nila, wait, tol, parang nahihilo ako. Parang akala mo nahihilo ka, bumili ka ng diet tapsak. Bumili ng gamot, no? Parang gano'n. Okay, next. Hanging objects swing. Right, so nagsiswing na yung mga hanging objects. Okay, like yung mga parol. May mapapansin mo, gumagalaw na yung parol, no? Hindi mo pala alam. Ito na yung weak. So, weak pa lang yan. Wala pang destructive ang dating. Okay, so number 4. Ayan. So, malakas ng konti. Papalakas. Yan. Okay. Sa moderately strong, and that is actually light sleepers or awakened. Yung mga mababaw lang matulog. Okay, yan. Mararamdaman mo na para may lumilindol. Pero yung mga kagaya ko na masarap ang tulog, sorry, hindi mo mararamdaman yun. Okay. Next. Hanging objects swing. Right? So, nag-i-swing na yan. But not violently, okay? Plates, utensils, windows, and doors rattle. Okay? So, parang nag-shaking yung mga, okay? Mga plato na nasa lalagyan ng plato, okay? Yung mga bintana, okay? Hindi naman yung mga, hindi naman mga jalousie, no? Yung mga bintana na pabukas, parang door, pabukas sarap. Parang ganun eh. Then, water moves strongly. So, that is medyo nararamdaman mo ng konti. Okay? Nararamdaman mo yung konti. O paano yung next? Alright? Paano yung next? Okay? Ito yung from 6 to 8. So from 5, okay, ito yung strong, which is when sleeping people are awakened, right? Nagigising sila. Shaking felt in the buildings, of course. Hanging objects swing violently, and of course, light or unusable objects may fall. Okay. So, yan po yung nangyayari, no? Nararamdaman mo na yung lindol, okay? Pero it's not as destructive as the next. So, ito parang, okay, nag-swing siya violently, tapos sa pagkatulog ka, kahit yung sarap ng tulog mo, di ba? So, magigising ka. Okay? Ganun yun eh. Okay? Ganun yun eh. No? Number 6. Okay, very strong. So, alam niyo na to. Okay, pagka number 6, people lose balance dito. Okay, nawawalan ka na ng balance here. Motorist feels like driving in a flat tire. Akala mo sira yung gulong. Okay? Kahit yung kapag nagda-drive ka ng sasakyan, pag nagalindol na, akala mo naman sira na yung gulong mo at kakabahan ka na. Ngayon pala, lindol na pala yun. Okay? Heavy furniture move. Alright? So, nag-move yung mga furniture natin, cabinets. Alright? Yan. Next, cracks appears on walls. Alright? So, nakikita na may cracks on mga walls. Drawings natin. And, the trees will shake. Okay? So, dito na mararamdaman yung the trees will shake talaga na parang shinake mo yung puno. Parang ganun eh. Okay? Next, destructive. So, ito na yan. Nandun na tayo sa destructive zone. People have difficulty standing in upper floors. Okay. The second floor, pag nagkakaroon ng shaking, okay, like the destructive one, okay, nahihirapan kayo maglakad, nahihirapan kayong tumayo. Okay, ganun siya katindi. The furniture toppled, tumba lahat ng mga furniture. Church bell rings, alright? Hindi po dahil sa Pasko, dahil po yun sa, or hindi dahil sa may bagong kasal, dahil po yun sa may lindol nangyayari. No? Pero wala pong sakristan na nagano doon, nagagalaw. Pusang gumagalaw yan. Okay? Old or poorly built structures damage. Okay? Sa mga matandang mga cement, mga church, yan ay Diyos ko po, okay? So, nasisira po yan. Okay, next, very destructive. So, dadagdagan lang natin ng konti, okay? Sa destructive one, okay? Kasi because people have difficulty in standing even in the floors or in the first floor or in the field, okay? So, ganun yan. Damaged buildings and bridges, okay? So, kahit gaano katibay yung okay? So, nasisira pa rin yan dahil sa tindi ng okay? Then next, railway tracks broken, okay, because of course of the shaking. Tombstones overturned, okay, pero wala naman tayong tombstones na kagaya sa Amerika na may lapida na malaki. Tayo kasi nakasalampak lang yung lapida na diba sa green grass, so boom. Alright, and then landslides. Kailan na sa mga nasa bundok, bulubundukin like sa Baguio, Cordillera, yan, no problem. Okay? Nandun na po tayo sa destructive o very destructive. Okay? So, nakakapanira na ang mga to. Nakaka-alarma hanggang sa nakakapanira. Paano ang next? May next pa po tayo and that is from 9 to 10. Okay? So, from number 9, okay, ito yung people or yung devastating. People have thrown to ground. Okay? Nakatumba ka na. Okay? Dahil sa sobrang lakas ng shaking. Okay? Totally damaged buildings. Yan. Bridges destroyed. Towers tilted. And of course, landslides. Yung mga puno po. Okay? So, minsan, okay, nasisira na siya. Natutumba na siya dahil sa sobrang shaking niya. Okay? And of course, the 10 na talagang iniiwasan. Okay, and that is completely devastating. Destruction of man-made structures, all. Massive landslides, alright? River courses change, okay? And trees uprooted. Okay, kahit walang bagyo. So, yan po ay from 1 to 10 intensity scale or the FIVOLS. Okay, intensity scale. Okay? So, dito pa lang, okay, alam mo na saan ba dapat, okay, yung sinasabi nila na intensity 1, intensity 2, intensity 3. So, pagdating sa mga balita, malalaman mo na ito pala, okay, ay malalaman, okay, pagdating lang sa description, okay, sa mga balita or sa mga nakikita mo sa paligid mo kapag may earthquake. And we are now on this last part, okay, of part 2. Now, a pole can be considered as active or inactive. Paano yun? Okay. Pag sinabing active kasi, okay, may years tayo dyan, 10,000 years or less. That is an active pole. Right? That is an active pole. So, active pole siya kapag 10 years less ang nangyayari. Okay, in between. So, and continuing expect to move again and generate earthquakes. So, yan po ang sa ang tawag dito, active. Then in the Philippines, we have 5 active faults, meaning Gas, West Valley, Western Philippine Fault, Eastern Philippine Fault, Southern of Mindanao Fault, and of course, ang last ay ang Central Philippine Fault. So, here, naputol kamay. Ayan. Okay? So, ayan po yan. Okay? Ayan po yung mga color red. Yung mga nasa ano po, yung mga nandun sa mga ano, okay, here, yung palibig na yan. Yan po yung mga trench. Okay, fault sila pero pahukay. So, ang pinakamalalim na trench ay ang Mariana Trench. Okay, hindi mo alam kung ano palang meron doon sa pinakailalim na parte ng ocean. At may sa Pacific. Okay? So, yan po yan. Okay? So, hindi ko na i-discuss kung nasaan ang location niya because hiwalay po na peta yon. Okay? Pero nasabi ko na rin na peta yon. Abang-abang na lang. Okay? Kung ano yung mga kasama makikita mga faults. Okay? So, and of course, yun po muna. Pipigilan muna titigilan ko muna to, okay, for the next week's discussion. And let's proceed with let's try this. Okay, so multiple choice questions ulit ang ating ang ating questionnaires, and you just choose A to B. Pakilagay, wag niyo pong ilagay ang mga wag pong ilagay yung mga answers sa chatting. Okay? Baka po may kumopya. Sayang naman. Okay? So, now, ready? In 3, 2, 1. Okay. So, the intensity blank as it goes away from the focus. Alright. Or hindi ko na-discuss to, pero common sense na lang. Okay? So, the intensity blank as it goes away from the focus. Okay? So, nangyayari daw, ano nangyayari kapag lumalayo ka from the focus? Ano nangyayari sa intensity? Pag lumalayo ka sa focus. Okay? Or pag malayo ka sa focus. Hindi naman lumalapit ang focus. Lumalayo ka. Okay? So, we have 2 seconds. And then 1 second. Okay? And 0. And of course, anong answer natin? Pag sinabi nila na nag-i-increase siya habang lumalayo tayo, mali po kayo. Ang answer ay nagdi-decrease, of course. Common sense. Right? Common sense. Next! The structures are inspected and people are interviewed to determine the blank of an earthquake. Ano ba yun? Intensity, active faults, focus, or magnitude. So, ano ba siya? Pag ni-interview ka, ano nangyari sa'yo? Ito, tumatalon ako tapos nagkalindol tapos hindi ko na alam kung gagawin ko. Parang ano. Alright, so, meron tayo 4 seconds. Alright, 3 seconds. We have 2. Ayan, we have 1. Okay, and 0. Okay. So, ano kaya ang answer natin for this question? Kung ang answer nyo ay intensity, tama kayo. Intensity ang answer dyan. Alright? Next! J. Mark, okay, suddenly felt an earthquake whose vibration is like parang it passed off a light truck. What intensity did Mark feel? 1, 2, 3, o 4? Parang na-felt niya daw yung lindol, pero parang dumaan lang yung truck. Parang ganun yung description niya. So, ano ba siya? 1, 2, 3, or 4. Ayan. Okay, so yan po ay isang intensity. So, of course, so tingnan natin. We have 2 seconds. Okay, so we have 1 second. And 0. Yan. So, ano ba ang answer natin with this question? So, the answer po is 3. Right? So, weak siya, weak na lindol. Yung 1 and 2 kasi, parang wala ka naramdaman. Parang, ganun lang. Wala na. Ganun lang siya. Okay? Parang ganun. Next! So, it is a term used to measure energy released by an earthquake. So, term used to release or to measure energy released by an earthquake. So, meron tayong magnitude, meron tayong scale, we have the intensity, and we have the strength. Alright? So, we have magnitude, scale, intensity, and strength. Alright? So, tingnan natin kung tama ba mga hula ninyo. Tingnan natin. We have 3 seconds, 2 seconds, 1 second. Okay, at tingnan natin kung anong answer natin with this one. Okay? So, ang answer natin po, okay, with this one is Magni. Right? So, gaano ba kalakas si Magni? Po yung question. Gaano kalakas si Earth? Right? Next, last. It is the term used by people to determine the intensity of an Earth. Ano ba sila? Ito ba ay PIS, PSIE, PIES, o PIIS? Ayan. Alright, so yung favorite ko yan, PIES, pies. Coco pie, egg pie, apple pie, saresa pie, chocolate pie, okay, talong pie, pinay pie. Ayos yan. Alright, so tingnan natin kung ano ang sagot natin for this question, and the answer is sayang naman, kala ko pies. Favorite ko pa man din yung pies. 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 Okay, so the answer is PEI. Right, so okay, pakilagay lang po sa ating chatting ang mga ang mga scores. Okay, wag lang pong ilagay yung mga answers, no? Yung scores lang po. Alright. So with that, okay, diretso na po tayo sa last part ng ating discussion, and that is let's do this. Alright. So ano ba mga sasagutin natin for the whole week? Alright. So please answer the following, which is activity number 1 on page 5, activity number 2 on page 6, activity number 3 on page 7, activity 8 on page 4, and we have another PETA, which is performance output reflection on page 9. Hiwalay po ang PETA, no, kapag nagsisend tayo ng okay, hiwalay ang activities sa PETA. Okay? Kasi hiwalay po or separate po ang checking po natin doon. Alright? Paki-picture lang po. Okay, habang nakaganon ako. Ayan. Paki-picture po. Hindi, dito na lang. Yan. Okay, so paki-picture lang po. Okay, kung nami-mixture po kayo. Ayan, paki-picture po. Right. I think na picture ako at wag yun na pong i-crop. I-crop nyo na lang po pag natatakot po kayo sa pagmumukha ko. Okay? No? Alright, so yan po yung mga sasagutin natin for the whole week po. Okay. And of course, nasa last part na tayo ng module na discuss natin about earthquakes. Alright? So yan po ang second part ng ating discussion about earthquakes. Kung nagustuhan nyo, okay, abang-abang na lang sa ating YouTube channel. Okay, na Cine as in CINE, okay, X then Kuela. Okay, Cine X Kuela, na. Doon ako magpo-post po ng mga videos every Saturday or Sunday. Okay, para po mapanood po natin. Okay, kasi malalaki po yung mga size na nilalagay ko po doon sa YouTube channel. And I hope naman po ay it helps po sa ating lahat. Okay, lalong-lalo na po sa ating mga friends natin na hindi po kasali dito sa classroom na ito. Okay, your teacher in charge po. Okay, bibigyan kayo ng link. Okay, or of course, ako po, no? Yours truly. Pwede naman po yung teacher in charge. Now, with that, okay, I hope that you learned a lesson about the difference between intensity and magnitude on how, okay, we describe on how big the earthquake is. Okay, so with that, okay, mag-iiwan na lang po ako ng isang kasabihan. Okay, marami tayong kasabihan, pero sky is the langit. So, see you next week and have a nice day. See you on my next lesson. Bye.